Remember, we just finished talking about how ethical and honest nurses were. So I think you should take these, I don't want to say with a grain of salt, you should take it with a grain of sugar. And this is good stuff. This is good stuff, all right?
You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
Hey. Welcome, you guys. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Swadik Mayanja. You guys can call me Q. And yes, I am Q the nurse. And on this channel, I bring you news, current events, and fun topics for nurses everywhere. Today, we have a special guest for our nursing news. Jamie is joining us. First Do No Harm podcast. So you guys do remember her. I had her on the Everyday Hero show. So I had to bring her back for the nursing news because she brings so much goodness, greatness, a whole lot of everything to the nursing conversation and to the podcast in general. So Jamie, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. But before we get into the stories this week, right, I got to get paid, right? So there's 2 affiliate programs that I want you guys to know and you guys to help me out with here. So Nursing NRSNG, if you guys haven't heard from them, I know that finals are coming around for you nursing students. NRSNG, nursing, if you go there, use the link in the description box below. They have flashcards, they have cheat sheets, they have, do you get to tell your history, your pharmacology professor, do you get to tell any of your professors to stop and rewind? No, you don't. But if you use the link in the description box below to get NRSNG, they hook you up with everything you will need for the NCLEX, for your end of the year term paper, whatever you need, they've got for you. So go use the link down below. They have everything you need to get an A+ in all of your nursing classes and to pass your NCLEX and become a nurse and joining the greatest profession in the history of professions. That's number 1. Number 2, TYT affiliate program. There's going to be a link down below. If you guys didn't know, the reason I started doing nursing news was because of the Young Turks. And there's a, if you use the link down in the description box below, it is going to take you and it's going to bring you to the Progressive News Netflix. That's what I like to consider them, is a Netflix for progressive news. They're the greatest news. If you're uneducated on anything news related, this is where you want to get it. Largest and longest running online news network in the history of the world. So you guys use that link below. You're helping me. You're helping yourself. You're going to get educated. It is voting season. So you want to use that link down below. With all of that being said, with the business out the way, let's get to the news. Jamie, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
I am good. I am good. For those who have been paying attention, I haven't been present on any social for a very long time. And a couple of videos before I went on my hiatus, I did have Jamie on my Everyday Hero show. And since then, I have become a travel nurse, and I've been just soaking in all the goodness, the greatness of being a travel nurse. So, Jamie, I really, really do appreciate you coming back. Because when I decided I need to get back into making videos, get back into what I used to do, I was like, who did I have fantastic conversation with? Who brought the best of Q out of me? And I remembered First Do No Harm. I remember Jamie.
Thanks.
Of course.
I love talking to you too. I love your energy so much. I could just listen to you talk for hours.
Oh,
you are wonderful.
You better stop all of that. You might have me here talking. Anyways, so we've got stories. Jamie, thank you for joining us. We're gonna jump right on in. And for me to come back, I wanted to do something for nurses everywhere, special. And this, I love this. Every single year, this makes my heart sing. Nurses continue to rate the highest in honesty and ethics based on the Gallup poll that they do every year in the United States for many professions. Obviously, I'm not going to say all professions, but many, many professions. Nurses continue to rate the highest in honesty and ethics. So, for the 18th year in a row, Americans rate the honesty and ethics of nurses highest among a list of professions that Gallup asks U.S. adults, and they assess this annually. currently, ladies and gentlemen, just open your ears and listen to this statistic, because this makes me so happy and so proud to be a nurse. Currently, 85% of Americans say nurses' honesty and ethics standards are very high or high, essentially unchanged from the 84%. They say essentially unchanged, but it did go up 1%. Essentially unchanged from the 84% who said the same in 2018. What I'm trying to say here is simple. Nurses, for the 18th year in a row, have ranked number one in honesty and ethics. Jamie, are you surprised at all by this?
The only thing, so I knew because I used this last year in one of my podcasts. So I was very familiar with where Gallup ranked nurses in the polls and things.
Yes.
But the thing that always got me is that we're ranked higher than teachers.
Right.
Teachers. I mean, I remember growing up thinking in high school and middle school that whatever my teachers said, that it was truthful, they were very wholesome. And the fact that our profession ranks even higher than that, it's just mind-blowing to me. Very honorable.
I know, and the reason I really like this, and the reason I wanted to just like put a big light and just let people in the world know this is what Americans think of nurses, is because as a nurse, if you were to ask me what the most, I wouldn't say like, I mean, maybe I would. I feel good about myself, but you're right. You're right. When you ask me about professions that are honest, that are ethical, I don't want to say don't think of nurses, because I am a nurse, but I would think of professions outside. Teachers come really high on the list. Firefighters come really high on the list. In the few history, I used to think, as a younger kid, I used to think police officers and policemen were super high on the list, but also doctors. But also like pharmacists, all of these medical professions, including nurses, I used to always think are very honest, are very ethical. But for those people who don't know and haven't seen this list, you have to look at this list, because it is like nurses 85%, nurses 84%, nurses 80%, right? And then it jumps from 80 to like 60. It jumps from 80 to like 40% to second place. I'm not talking about 5th, 10th, 11th place. It goes from like 85, 84, 82, 83 to like 60% for whoever's in second place. And second place has changed every year. Sometimes it's medical doctors, sometimes it's teachers, sometimes it's engineers. But for the 18th year in a row, it's been nurses. And we've held that strong for so long. What I want to ask you is, have you been a patient, or have you been with a mom or with a parent or someone when you go to a hospital? Do you feel that, like, not as a nurse, working as a nurse, did you ever feel that before you became a nurse, that you just trusted the words or whatever, or you thought that nurses were ethical people before you became a nurse?
I didn't have a lot of experience with people who were sick prior to becoming a nurse. But I think that as who I am, as Jamie, I automatically default to believing in people and to thinking that people are good until they prove differently. So but I grew up in like a real small town and, out in the country. So I didn't have a lot of exposure to people in the nursing field, but I do see how other people cling, patients, family members, to whatever nurses say, and they really trust the words. Even physicians will come in and they'll give a prognosis, or they'll try to explain something, and then when they leave, they turn to the nurse and they say, "Can you please explain it to me, where I didn't really understand what they meant. What does this mean for me?" Because they really value the things that we say to them, and they hold it to such a high standard. I see that with my family too, not just with me.
And I agree with you 1,000%, just because it's like, as a nurse, when you're doing your job as a nurse, you see it very clearly, like, right? Like, so the patients are very comfortable telling the nurses, I don't know what the pharmacy said. I didn't understand what the doctor said. I'm a little confused at what I'm supposed to do. I didn't like whatever the PT exercise we did today, they were moving my muscles, but I wasn't helping. So can you tell me what I need to do when I get home? So everything that you learn, get taught, get told, everything that is explained to you at the hospital, the nurses break it down to how you can understand it and take it home with you. And then on top of all of that, us nurses, we're there on the worst day of these human beings. I think that's the core of it, right?
For 12 and 13 hours at a time. It's just, we're in the trenches with you. We're pouring all of our soul out. We go toe to toe with doctors to fight for you. You know, we have your back. Right up there with your family, you know?
Yes, sometimes we have to get that family out of the room to help you relax.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love this. As a nursing student, I was told this, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago. It was like 16 years in a row, 15 years in a row, 17 years in a row. And I always thought, oh my goodness, that's like amazing. And I literally, every time I hear a nursing student or I hear someone say, I want to become a nurse, I always say, welcome to the greatest profession in the world. And I say that hyperbolically, like, you know, I'm exaggerating. I'm obviously beating my own chest, but I mean, these stats back it up. Nursing is the greatest profession in the world. I mean, I had a rough shift last night, so I don't think so today. But when you look at the bigger picture, nursing is just, it's a fantastic profession. If you're ever thinking about joining or becoming a nurse or whatever, doing anything in the nursing field, nursing profession, please, 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 please do it. It is the greatest thing ever. I love it. I love it. I love it. And for all of those nurses out there, thank you for keeping us at number one for the 18th year in a row. Because that's not an easy thing to do. And the margin of victory, we're blowing everybody else out the water. I can't say anymore. So story number 2. So today we're recording this. I don't know when I'm going to put this out, so don't put no pressure on me. But the day we're recording this is the first day of primary voting, and it's happening right now in Iowa. The caucuses are happening for the Democratic primary. So it's a big day. It's an important day. And I know this news that I'm about to tell you came out a long time ago. In fact, it happened in 2019 in November, but I have to talk about it because I haven't been making videos since 2019 in November. Don't shame me. Just let me live. Let me live. Okay. So the National Nurses United, the nation's largest, I'm going to say that again, the nation's largest union of registered nurses, announced in November 15th, 2019, that it will endorse Senator Bernie Sanders for the Democratic Party presidential nomination. They endorsed Bernie Sanders. Remember, we just finished talking about how ethical and honest nurses were. So I think you should take these, I don't want to say with a grain of salt, you should take it with a grain of sugar. And this is good stuff. This is good stuff, all right? So nurses cite how Sanders leading the platform closely aligns with nurses' values on a whole host of issues, including rebuilding America's labor movement to restore workers' rights and his trailblazing leadership to win with Medicare for All, which is obviously a very big thing for the National Nurses United. But before, I did want to show you a couple of videos, short clips of the nurses endorsing Bernie, and I also wanted to show you a video of Bernie accepting that endorsement. But before I go to the videos, did you have anything to say about this? Do you have any concerns? Have you made a decision? Do you live in Iowa, Jamie? What is your mindset when it comes to the presidential?
I live in North Carolina, and my best friend and we are actually getting involved to help people that are in the lower socioeconomic areas of our town because the voting polls are not very close to them. But we're going to go out and do a lot of work to get them registered to vote. We're going to help find their birth certificates if we need to get them the IDs, because everyone deserves to have their opinions heard, and we deserve to have a country that reflects us. I don't have a strong candidate in line. I haven't done my homework enough. I just know that I switched my affiliation a couple years ago after the last election to Democrat. So, oh yeah, I told you I grew up in a small town, so like it was always just, you know, handed down, and I didn't vote until the midterm, and that was the first time I've ever voted.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so like there's a change that's coming, but I don't know who.
Wait, before we go to these videos, I got it. So let's get. I'm gonna ask Jamie a couple of questions, y'all.
Okay, bring it.
So hang with me here. So
I'm ready.
I know for a fact we talked about this last time, but I'm sorry I did forget. But just remind me and the folks at home, where is the small town? You keep saying I grew up in a small town. Where is your small town?
I grew up in the lower part of South Carolina. Wagner, South Carolina until I was 13 to move to Alabama until I was
Jeez,
27, 28. Yeah, in a town called Gunnersville, Alabama. So
you can't get any more red than South
oh
Carolina,
my
small town
goodness,
in
right?
Alabama.
Ah, yes.
And so you're saying the first time you voted was last in the midterms in 2018, right?
Yeah, that's
So
it.
if that was the first time you voted, is that when you switched, or is it after the midterms you switched?
I switched before. I switched after the election.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was always very uninvolved, honestly, because I didn't feel like anything affected me to my core. But the core of who I am is love. I'm kind of a little hippie. I just want to give the world a hug. And I just, over the past few years since the last election, I have seen so much hatred and meanness and putrid just coming out of people that I know, my family, my friends, just the people in my town, and I can't handle it anymore. It is disrupting who I am. So yeah, I switched. I'm like, no, let's do something. We need to change so that the country can become more of, I feel like we're, a little bit more loving and accepting of people.
So I do want to get back to this. I know you guys, I'm gonna play the videos right now, but after we play the videos, I really, really, really want to talk about your decision to help people register to vote, because I think that is like I know who I want. Obviously, the video I'm about to play you, but I know who I want to win, right? So all of my energy goes into canvassing and calling and phone banking for that specific person. But for someone who hasn't made a decision, for you to put your energy and most importantly, not just your money, because I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier to do than
It
putting
is
in
easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier to do than putting in your actual time, and you're putting in your actual time to help those who can't get their voice heard, and you're making it possible so they can.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about that after. But right now, let me show you a couple of videos. So number one, I'm going to start with the video of Bernie Sanders, of nurses endorsing Bernie Sanders.
We agreed on Bernie Sanders as our candidate for 2020.
We know that there are ample opportunities for politicians to compromise on Medicare for all. And we know, having worked with Senator Sanders before, that he won't compromise when people's health are at stake.
Our patients are fighting to get the proper care and the quality care that's needed, and Medicare for all is the only solution.
We believe in social justice. We believe in Medicare for all. We believe that the climate crisis is making our entire public health in danger. And he's the candidate that has always consistently stood behind those things. He's a person who's always been out on picket lines with us and other unions. So he doesn't just talk about union, he doesn't just talk about solidarity, he obviously understands it and lives it.
It's Senator Sanders who has inspired people to come together to fight for what's right.
Bernie's commitment to Medicare for all and the movement has really changed the way people are looking and talking about health care. It's widely accepted now that it's a human right, and after being a registered nurse for 47 years, I finally feel that we've got a real commitment from a presidential candidate committing to Medicare for all. And that's a huge, huge relief on the part of most nurses that work in this country.
We will be with him to the end, and we're going to do our darndest to get him the nomination.
Jeez. Oh, geez. Okay, Jamie. All right. So thank you for taking a couple of minutes and watching that, because I'm not going to play the video of Bernie Sanders. That's will be for a different day. I really wanted to get that video out there because yes, I like to say I'm a Bernie bro. I'm all for Bernie. But that aside, let's talk to Jamie real quick. Jamie, before I ask you, and we'll talk about that stuff at the end. So I'm not going to ask you who you want, because you just told me that you didn't do your homework yet. But I do need to know, do you know much, anything? Do you care? Do you think that healthcare should be a right? Are you for Medicare for all? Is that something you know anything about? Talk to me about that, because that is a big part of what they were saying in that specific video.
Absolutely. I absolutely am pro Medicare for all. I think that every person deserves to be taken care of. Every person. I mean, think about it. You have so many, as a nurse, you know that you've had patients who said they had to choose between going to buy pills or paying their light bill. And then they chose not to go with their medication right now because they really needed their heat and electricity during the winter, and then they end up in the hospital. So absolutely, I'm a huge proponent for everyone being taken care of as far as the healthcare system goes.
Yeah, no, and I think it's very important. Look, so it is our job, right? It is our job to take care of these patients every single day. When you are taking care of these patients, you put in so much effort. The entire team, you have like 9 people just trying to take care of one human being to get their heart back to where it was, their liver back to where it was, their broken leg back to, right? And you have the PT, OT, MD, the nurses, the aides, everyone involved, case management, everyone's involved to get these people back together, right? And then you go in there the day of discharge, and you tell the patient, all right, so this is what we're going to do to get you back to 100%. You're going to have to go home. You're going to have to go to PT 3 times a week. You're going to have to take this med every morning at 9 a.m. You're going to have to come back for a follow-up. And then after you do your whole spiel, your whole explanation, the patient looks at you and be like, look, thank you. I'll take note of it. But I'm not going to do 80% of that because I can't afford it. Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for the ambulance ride to the hospital that got me here. In the start of everything. I don't have enough money to pay for the ambulance ride. Forget about these goddamn PTs. Forget about a follow-up appointment, and fuck those meds because they cost $1,000 a pill. So that is not going to happen. And as a nurse, when you see this and when you're dealing with this every day, like in the back of your head, you're saying to yourself, I'm going to see you in a week.
Hopefully.
Exactly. With your heart failure, you're going to have, you're going to be back here in a week. I'm going to see you in a week. If
they don't die.
Exactly. So when you say yes, it is a human right. I mean, that is something I live and die by, right? In the Constitution, it says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Everyone wants to talk about the pursuit of happiness, but we forget number one. It's life. Life is number one. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't know. If you don't think that healthcare is a human right, then we're starting at different places, and I don't even know if we can have a conversation. But I need you. It's just, yes. Yes. Medicare for all is a big part. And obviously, Jamie just told you she doesn't know who she's voting for. Nurses are not a monolith, right? And obviously, everyone that's part of the Nurses United, union, obviously they don't all believe the same exact thing, but it is a big part of Nurses United, and it is the largest nurses union in the United States. So it does mean something. It doesn't mean everything. It doesn't mean all nurses believe the same thing, obviously, but it is a big part. So if you are confused as to who to vote for, who you should pick, if you don't pay attention to politics that much, ask someone who's honest, ask someone who's ethical, like a nurse, and then go based on that. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but I think it's out there. Everyone and their mother knows I love Bernie. So Bernie for me, I don't know. I just think that's the most important issue in 2020 moving forward. Okay, so since I got that off my chest, thank you, Jamie. Thank you. So we got to talk a little bit about some bad news before we talk about the end of news report. But I think this is super important, right? Because you have to talk. I talk about some good things why nurses are important. I talk about someone who I think should become the president of these United States. So we got to talk some bad news because it is the news, and you can't turn the news on unless you talk about something bad and negative. All right, so. Moving forward, the last story of the day, the third story of the day, we're going to talk about a German nurse that was accused of poisoning 5 infants with morphine. Jamie, when I read this title, I get just shivers down my spine, right? With the headline to the story, it just makes me ache because I don't understand it. But let's go through the details and then we'll chat at the end. So 5 premature babies at the University Hospital of Ulm. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but it's in the southern Germany. Between the ages of 1 day and 1 month, suddenly began experiencing life-threatening breathing difficulties in December of last year. The babies were all taken to the intensive care unit, where the gravest cases were put on some artificial respiratory machines, like AKA being vented. Morphine was found in the infant's urine, and the police was called. Authorities found a syringe of a mixture of breast milk and morphine in one of the nurse's lockers. They have not released who the nurse is, but in keeping with German laws, because that's just what German laws is, they don't release who they suspect the person to be. She has denied the accusations. Officials have brought charges to her that Wednesday. They ruled she could be kept in jail on suspicion of 5 counts of attempted murder. So, Jamie, I do this thing with Tina from Good Nurse, Bad Nurse, where we talk about really bad nurses.
Yeah.
And she does this whole spiel on all these crazy psycho nurses that go on killing sprees or kill their husband or kill whatever, right? So that's the first thing that I thought of when I was reading the story. But I don't get it. I don't understand it.
When you sent me the story, so my first thought, because as I said earlier, I default to good, right? Like I want to believe the good initially. And it reminded me of a story that came out about, it came out in the last year about this physician and all of these people who caused a large amount of individuals to die because of overdosing them on fentanyl. And so I thought, okay, maybe these were babies that were dying and the nurse gave the morphine a little bit too much to kind of help them through the process, which is what happened in that other case, right? And so I started looking up the information after you sent it to me. That wasn't the case. Some of these kids weren't even prescribed morphine on their period.
Yes.
Like on their medication administration record. So same with you. I don't know what is going through the mind of these people and why someone would do something like that.
Right. And so look, listen. I'm not as good as you, right? As soon as I saw the story, I said, throw her in the jail, put her underneath the goddamn jail. All right. She's gone. She's a goner. She needs to go. Like,
yeah.
There's levels to it, right? So first of all, if you're going to be bad to someone who can fight back. Right. And then last but not least, if you're going to be bad to someone who can't fight back, at least be bad to someone who can tell other people someone's being bad to me.
It's not a baby.
Babies. I'm telling you, like, babies are the most innocent. Like, it's like, why? Right. So that was my initial thought, like, under the jail, get the hell out of here. I want nothing to do with you. You are not a nurse. You are everything but a nurse. Right. That was my first initial. But my number two, the way they figured this out, right, is that they found a syringe of breast milk and morphine in her locker. Jamie, if you're gonna commit a crime this heinous, why would you leave?
Well, she needed to get access to it so she could keep doing it.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. She obviously didn't think she was gonna get caught, so she wanted to continue to do it. But like, my first thing was like, how do you keep the evidence in your fucking locker?
She was a dumb killer. That's what it was. I mean, are there smart ones? But she was really ignorant.
Yes. And so for those out there, just to let you know, none of the 5 babies were killed. They were all saved. Like I said, 3 of the 5 had to be put on vents. 2 of them were just they took them to the NICU. They, did whatever. I don't even think it was like CPR. It wasn't that bad, but they were afraid that it was SIDS. That was the first thing that everyone thought was SIDS, is that sudden infant death syndrome. But after that, they were like, when they brought him back, they did urine tests. They found morphine in the urine. They figured it out that there was bad things happening. And that's when the police got involved. They are good nurses. A vast majority of nurses are good, per our first story of the day. But when you do find these bad nurses, I think it's super important that not only the world, the news, the people out there point a light to it. I think it's very important that us nurses make it known that this is the absolute last thing that we want, the worst thing possible. I think if people in the profession of someone that's doing something really bad speak out for that profession and say, holy shit, she's a bad nurse, he's a bad nurse, he's doing something horrible, she's doing something horrible, people are more willing to believe you if you are willing to point out one of your own. And I don't like to consider her one of our own, but she was a nurse, and that's the only way she was able to do what she did. So it is important that we let the world know that she is indeed not just a horrible nurse, but a horrible human being.
Mm-hmm. And because at the end of the day, I mean, it comes down to the lives of people, babies, adults, teenagers, whatever. Like you have an entire life in your hands, and you witness other people who do too in the nursing field. And there's so many things that people get into the field of nursing, and they may divert medications and they may divert narcotics, and people really have problems. And like you said, it's so important, like, not to be a tattletale over, well, this person didn't do this right, or this person didn't do that right. But if it comes down to errors happening, I mean, I've been part of facilities that they've had sentinel events that I've witnessed.
Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. But, you know, if somebody would have prevented that nurse from maintaining a license, then there would have been one extra person on this planet right now who deserved to live, you know?
Right. You guys, so like I really did want to keep it short because I really didn't know how much energy I would have, how this would go, the stories of the day. So I just kept it to 3 stories, but that's not the end of it. I always do the end of nursing news, the end of shift report, I like to call it. And this is where just my guest and I, Jamie and I, or usually if I'm doing it by myself, you know, shoot the shit. So, but I did have a few questions for you, Jamie. But before I talk about life outside of nursing news, I did want to stick it to this a little bit more. Can we talk a little bit about why did you decide that you wanted to volunteer your days off? You work 12-hour shifts, so when you're on for the whole goddamn day, or maybe nights. I don't know if you do nights still, but why did you decide on a day off you were going to spend your very valuable time getting other people registered to vote? How did that come to be?
Because I read a book. Give me just a second. Sorry. And I'll tell you exactly what book it is.
Take your time.
My best friend is a physician here in the town that I live, and we both are like big activists. We have pictures of us picketing. Let me see.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, I like to spill the tea. So, Jamie, when you say best friends, do you mean boo-boo?
No.
Okay.
My poor husband, he's wonderful, but he has a great heart. He's a teacher. But
okay.
but he is not, his world doesn't break because of the lack of humanity.
Yes.
But so my best friend, we started reading this book, One Person, No Vote. And it really went through the history of the voting process, how Black people have been suppressed for so long, and all of the things that the white population has done in order to keep the African American population from being able to partake and have a country that reflects and represents them as well. And so we got into that, and he and I, we were just really broken over that, and it's not fair and it's not right. And, you know, you have this ethnicity that's being discriminated against, but you also have this other population of people who, they don't have much money. They don't have the means to be able to do the things that I have the liberty, that I have the privilege of doing. And so we really wanted to rope that in and to help people have the right that they're given, that has been taken away from them historically, and we want to give it back.
I love that so much, Jamie, just because, look, I'm 26 years old, right? And it took me a very, very long time to get here. And I know I'm not saying I'm an enlightened human being and I'm above all, but I'm saying I have grown so much getting to where I am today, right? I'd say maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I was the kind of guy that just wallowed in my own sorrows, in my own bullshit. Oh, I have the hardest life in the world.
But
right?
that's youth.
Yeah, right. Of course. And that's,
Yeah.
and I really believe that. So I just want to say, look, I know I hate using these, these millennial terms, these, hip young terms of I am an ally and I'm helping out and I'm all of this stuff, right? But growing up, I was so consumed with the fact that, oh, I'm black and I there's so much oppression and all this stuff. And yes, all of these things are true. But because I dwelled on that so much, I never wanted to believe, yeah, it is harder to be a woman in the world in 2020. Yeah, it is harder to be a gay person in certain aspects than a transgender person in certain aspects. So I have come to learn and to respect and to really honor and like really say thank you to people out there that are stepping outside of their privilege bubble, their domestic bubble, their whatever bubble, to say, you know what, I'm going to reach my hand out and try to get someone into the situation I'm in. I know I'm not living the greatest life in the world, but yeah, I get to vote and I don't have to think twice about it. Yeah, I get to express my sexuality and I don't have to think twice about it. So when other people like yourself, Jamie, decides I'm going to take time out of my day, I'm going to do something that I don't have to do to help someone do the things I don't have to think about doing every single day, it just makes me happier as a human being. It really does.
Well, the reality is, Q, that whether anyone realizes it or not, we are all in this together. Yes. We're all in this life together. We are all operating together. So if I can do one thing that takes the burden off of another individual, like it is so worth whatever frustration I have to go through, because it's only going to make my community better. And that one life is a little bit brighter, a little bit shinier,
Yes. Oh, almost definitely. I'm all about it. Teamwork makes the goddamn dream work.
That's right.
I'm all about it. Okay, another question. I have a few more. I'm not taking too much of your day out, right? I have just
no.
A few
I
more
told
questions.
you I was free all day today.
Oh,
so,
beautiful. So when you mentioned the fact that you switched, okay, I don't want to be the person to put your stuff out there.
Oh, no. I'm transparent. I'm open book.
Does your family know? Do your people know? Your friends know you switched from Republican to Democrat or independent to Democrat? Does anyone know? Or is this a decision you made and it's just clear in your actions? Because if you never told me who you were or what you were or where you stood, I would have assumed you were a Democrat. Mm-hmm. Do you make it known, or is this
I don't know. My parents, they're so Southern, especially my dad. Listen, man, I went to a women's march and my dad's like, you went to an anti-Trump rally. He didn't talk to me for 3 weeks. He didn't talk to his only daughter, his baby, for 3 weeks because he thought I went against a man he doesn't even know. Jeez. I think that my family, that they feel that ignorance is bliss, because I very publicly stand up for other people. I'm a very loud voice for those that their voices are muffled. And I think that the party that I represent is also a group of people that do that more so than a group that's trying to oppress others. So,
look, you guys, like when I say I asked Jamie to come back because I had some really good conversations with her the last time we were on a podcast together, I really mean it, because I have to be honest, right? I just told you how it took me a really long time to see, outside of my being an African-American here in the United States. When we had that conversation about transgender people, the last time we had a conversation, it really it was like a light bulb going off, right? It really was like eye-opening to be like, does it, you just have to understand and respect. And when you said ignorance is bliss, yeah, when you don't know, when you don't think about the oppression, the sadness, the hatred, all of these things that are happening to other people that are not happening to you, it is so easy to forget, to not even care, to pretend it's not a real thing.
And to not feel the pain yourself. Like, who wants to feel the weight of the world on their shoulders? There's nights that I can't sleep because of all the stuff in my head of the knowledge of what's going on in the world, and I need to somehow fix it. So, yeah, of course people want to stay ignorant, and they want to stay in their own life, in their own world, and because it doesn't hurt nearly as badly if you don't have to recognize the pain that your neighbor is in.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah, and I love that. Jamie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of that.
Thank you.
So before we end this, I like to do this every time I do any kind of podcast. I always say nurses are human too, right? I always talk about nursing things, nursing projects, nursing news, whatever. I always try to make it nursing oriented, but nurses are human too. So Jamie, we haven't talked in a couple of months. What have you been doing in your life? Don't tell me the things you've been doing to help other people. I'm talking about the things you've been doing to make Jamie smile. What have you been binging on Netflix? What have you been eating? What are you obsessed with? What do you do, Jamie, to make Jamie happy?
I'm so pigeonholed on a bunch of stuff. What have I been doing? I started studying for the MCAT again.
Oh, Jesus Lord.
Yeah.
Wait. Remind me what the MCAT is. Is that
the medical college admission test?
Wait, no. You did not tell me this. Are you serious? Are you serious?
Yeah.
You going to a medical school?
Maybe. We'll see if I get in.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait. We started this podcast by you saying that you had your associate's degree as a nurse. Yep. So you really did every step of the way. You were a degree nurse, and you gave me a bachelor's degree nurse, and now you want to go to medical school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I apply in June.
Jamie, what's wrong with you?
I'll take the test in May.
Jamie, what's wrong with you? Do you see these doctors at work?
Yeah, I know, which is why I think I need to do it. Somebody needs to fix this crap. If not me, then who, Q?
Amen to that. No, definitely. There's some people, I mean, yes. But, wait, really, has this been a long-term plan? Is this, I mean, it can't be new.
I started studying last year. My father-in-law got sick, and unfortunately he passed away in October, which allowed me to start studying more again, because like when he was getting sick and we were having to go to Pennsylvania, where my husband's from, it wasn't a good time. So yeah, kicking it off again. We'll see what happens. So I've been doing that. What else for fun? I don't really know. I have like my normal shows that everybody watches.
Give me one thing. Give me one show, TV, movie, series, anything. Give me something. Because the studying for the MCAT, that's not. Yes, maybe it makes you happy the long term, but give me something that you indulge in. Something, Jamie. You're a human being. What TV? Give me a TV show you've been watching. It could be guilty. Okay, if it's a Kardashian.
Guilty pleasure. Okay, now we're throwing my business out here. This is the business I don't like people to know about me. The Bachelor.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I know for a fact that it's.
If football season was over, that's a big part of my life. Yeah, so
I do remember you saying that.
Alabama fan. I'm from Alabama. So roll Tide. Yeah.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
That was a thing last time.
Yeah.
That's a thing with Jamie, period.
Oh yeah. I have a big houndstooth tattoo down my rib cage. Oh yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Live your best life, Jamie. Live your best goddamn life. Ladies and gentlemen, see, this is what I'm talking about. Jamie, thank you so much. I really do appreciate this. I kept it short because I haven't been back, and you guys know I hate the editing. So the shorter, the better, the sweeter, the sooner I get it out there. Jamie, please plug away. Where can people find you? Where can people hear you? Let the people know.
Oh, check me out at First Do No Harm. It's a podcast. You can find it on all of your main Apple. I don't even know if it's Apple anymore, right? Apple, Google, Stitcher, whatever. But yeah, check me out there.
Oh, goody. You guys, please, I'm going to put the link in the description box below to her podcast, to her Instagram, to all of the places you can find her. So click, go and go check it out. One of my favorite videos, recordings, episodes, anything I've ever done was the conversation I had for the First Do No Harm podcast. The first time Jamie and I had a conversation. I mean, one of the best. So it's going to be including where you can find it. I'm going to put the link to that conversation we had prior down below. Go click away, go find her, go listen to her. She's insightful in ways I have no idea. I mean, the lady wants to become a doctor. She wants to become a doctor. Believe it or not, she wants to become a doctor. Jamie, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Always a pleasure, Q.
I thank you. And then for those you guys listening, watching, whatever you're doing, don't forget to like and subscribe. I love you guys. Catch you on the flip. Deuces.